What's up, guys? I got the quad apart again. If you watched my last race video there, I lost four-wheel drive for the second time this year. Last time it was a through shaft. This time it was actually an axle. I broke the front axle in the front differential here. You can see that just busted right off. So this was actually stuck in the rear diff, or in the front diff. I had to pull the other side off, both sides out, to get that other axle out. Actually pulled the whole front diff out and was able to pound that little piece out there. So I got the front diff apart here. All it really did was with that axle break-in, it was that part of the axle was still in the diff, so it actually put a gouge. I don't know if you can see that. I put a gouge in this bearing for that side and kind of destroyed the seal. So I was on the hunt to find replacement parts, and actually Specialized ATV, shout out to them. I ordered the parts on Monday. It's Thursday. The parts are here to rebuild the whole front diff. So when I actually had the diff apart, I was just going to do the seals and the bearings, but I actually found some chips in these gears here. I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not, which I don't really like. So I'm going to go ahead and replace these, and Specialized ATV actually had them, surprisingly. So I got the diff apart. I'm going to change the bearings. A lot of the racing guys will Loctite these. Sometimes they'll weld these so they don't come loose. Actually go in here. But I think I'm going to use the aircraft wire and wire them together so they don't back off. I'm going to drill holes in these and put them in. I'll show you that later. So I got a lot of work to do here. I'm going to get started on it. I got a race in just a couple days here, so I got to put new front axles in. I got new front axles of the front diff. This is a QE front diff, quick engagement, which is on the XXCs. I actually have the Visco lock out of this, so I run three-wheel drive all the time. It steers a lot easier through the woods, and you can drift a little bit in the corners. So it runs three-wheel drive all the time. The only problem is with that is when you do break an axle up front, all you have is two-wheel drive instead of three-wheel drive. So I'm gonna get after this and replace these seals. I don't know how much I'm gonna film here. I got a lot of work to do, and I gotta get it together here in like one day. So stick around and let's get this thing back together. These actually have shims on the bottom here, so you can shim this right. Gonna have to play around with it and see, just to get it shimmed just right here. So. Alright, that was pretty easy. I just got to make sure that there's a shim on the top here on this gear, and there's a shim on this bottom one here from the factory. I actually only came with one shim from Sean, but that's fine because I had the other shims in here. I think I got it about right. It's pretty tight. There's not a lot of movement up and down. It's definitely tighter than the ones that were in it, so I think it's going to be good. I think that's all set. I gotta start changing the bearings on these. A lot of metal shavings in there from them gears. Alright, I got these all drilled out so I can put wire in these. What happens is when you tighten these down here, this goes in the by the clutches here. What happens is a lot of times these will back off and then they'll break off and then they'll crack your case. So I got those all drilled, ready to wire tie, put those back in. Next thing I gotta do is get this needle bearing down here for this pinion. These are a pain in the butt to get out. A lot of times I've done a couple of rear diffs, and what I'll do is if I can't get out with a slide hammer, a lot of times I'll do is I'll just take a nut. I'll put a nut in here like that, and then I'll tack weld it, and then I'll be able to pull this out with a slide hammer or other means. So gotta get over to the welder and get this thing out. Like I said, these are a pain in the ass to get out. Almost every time I have to weld a nut on here to pull it out. So if you don't have a welder, good luck. Alright, back in my garage here. Like I showed you guys over there, I had to weld. What I did is I put a nut in here in this pinion bearing, welded the nut in it, and then just kind of created a puller here. You might be able to get like a small slide hammer in there. I've never been able to, but if you have a welder, that's the easiest way to get it out. So I gotta go ahead and clean all this slag up in here, clean this all out, put the bearings in, put the seals in, and then put the diff back together. Alright guys, you see me trying to use that pipe wrench in that, I think it's 1.5 inches, might be 2 inches, that pipe that fits in this nut here. I actually had to go take this over to the big vise we have on the farm here, and a big wrench, get that on. That was a really pain in the ass, let me tell you. Might be a little easier if you have the right socket. You could use an impact gun to get that in there, but it took me probably 20 minutes to get this nut back in here. But it's in there, it's seated pretty good, and this bearing's good and tight. Alright, I got the diff all back together. I don't know if you guys saw that, but these bolts here are 25 foot-pounds. But we got this all back together here. Last thing I got to do is change this wear ring on this collar. I got one here. Usually I cut this off and break it. I'm going to try this little bearing puller here that I got, see if it works. If not, I'll put the grinder to this and cut it off. Comes right off, and you cut it, crack it with a chisel, and we'll put this new one on. Well, we got the diff back in. It seems to be working all right. I haven't taken the quad out yet, but it seems to be all right. Backlash seems okay on the diff. I don't recommend doing this if you're not mechanically inclined. It's a pain in the ass. I had to use a big vise. I had to use a welder, weld a nut for that pinion bearing to get out of there. And sometimes you're better off paying somebody to do stuff if you're not confident in your mechanical skills. So. All the internals for the diff there cost me about $300. I put 2 brand new axles in. I think they're like $180 a piece. And as you guys know, earlier in the year I broke my through shaft, so I got a new through shaft. I got a new through shaft, a new coupling, new prop shaft, and then the whole internals for the diff are brand new. along with the front axle. So hopefully it lasts me all of next race season. But got a race on Sunday, just a day or two away here, and hopefully everything goes good, and I'll have that race video up for you guys next week. Thanks for watching.